Hey, welcome all my right thinkers. Thanks for tuning in. Check out your boy, P Funk. Thinking right out here in the lab, in the book, doing what I do for you. Oh, I got some good. Boy, this some heavy stuff here. This some good stuff here. So I'm having fun. Let's go. See, I got a teaching hat on. Time to go to school. Let's rock. Rightism, 25 rules to live by. Storytelling, story with a message. There's a message in my stories for life. I give you life lessons. You tune into receiving them. I appreciate you. We got a good thing going. Let's do what we do. Right thinking mission, and I'm on it, is to enlighten, inspire, educate, and motivate you, the individual, to a higher spiritual level of enlightenment. Right thinking way of life through what? Mental and spiritual discipline practice daily will help and guide you to obtain your goal of reaching spiritual enlightenment, aka know thyself. My mission is that all right thinkers know thyself. If you're a right thinker, your goal is to know thyself. You see where we're going with this? So let's get there together. And I ask the question, do you know you? You will when I get through, because that's what I do for you. It's rhetorical, but if you know how to answer for yourself, tune in. I got you. A person who knows not and knows not that they know not is foolish. Disregard them. A person who knows not and knows that they know not is simple, but you can teach them. That's why I do what I do for you. I appreciate you too. Stay tuned. I got more for you. A person who knows not and believe and think that they know is dangerous, avoid them. I do. A person who knows and knows not that they know, spiritually asleep. I can awaken them. I'm the spiritual alarm clock here to wake you up with knowledge of self. That's what I do for you. A person who knows and knows that they know is wise. Follow them. All these persons reside in you. Right thinkers, know thyself and to my yacht, be true. I'm into the culture thing now. I'm going to break down the what? I got 4 definitions of 4 culture, religion, ritual, traditions that I'm going to speak on. And I'm going to get 2 other categories, definitions of categories of culture expressions and factors of culture expressions. Good stuff, good information. Page and a half. Then I'm going to take you over to what I call the good stuff, the ritual and traditions. And then I'm going to end up with myths. I think I did that lesson before, but let me see. Let's go. Right thinkers, let's rock. The definition of the categories of culture expressions and the factors of culture expressions, system of culture anthropology. We're going to break it down for you. So the following terms are general designations and the describe of the 4 cultures worldviews that's being espoused in this volume. We're going to break down 4 different concepts. And this do not include all, just 4. We're just going to break down the 4, and they are Western culture, Arab culture, Eastern culture, and African culture. I ain't going there. I'm just going to define what they got down here. I ain't into all the other nonsense. This ain't what I do. Let's go. This should be a good lesson. If you pay attention, this is what you're into. This is what we got. Some good stuff. Now, Western culture. What's considered Western culture? You have, for the purpose of this study, Western culture constitutes the traditions of the continent of, you ready? Of Asia, Europe, and who see this part of the world as their homeland or view the world from the perspective of the tradition, including religion and norms of that religion, which is Eurocentric. This includes the United States. Euro means white. United States of America, Canada, as well as other countries which have societies that are what? Descendants from what? European colony rulers, and which control the governments of the former colonies, that including Australia, New Zealand, etc. Also, it included our countries where the political order is supported by what? Or enforced by neocolonialism or capitalistic globalism. Sound familiar? By the who? Western countries. They still practicing it today, but guess what? They about to turn that thing off. In a broad sense, Western culture is a way of thinking that has spread for a far and a field of now including all who adopt what? The philosophy and the norms of said customs of that region, in including the secularism and the religions that are predominantly what? Christian, followed by who? The Jews and the Muslims, Islam. So Western civilization is dominated by Christian, Muslims, and Jews. Simple as that. Simple as that. We know we got other stuff going on, but that's the major concept. And what they're saying is what we're going on right today. Now, the definition of Arab culture. What the hell is Arab culture? Some people don't have a clue. Let's go over it right quick. For the purpose of this study, again, we're going to call it Arab culture. That constitutes the traditions, the beliefs, and the productions of those people who have developed societies where in the southwestern part of the continent of Asia. You got Arabia, Mesopotamia, and now also North Africa. And who see this part of the world as their homeland or view the world from the perspective of their traditions, this including their religion. So the Arabs, the Mesopotamians, and the North Africans, I'm going to let that go, and including their religion and the norms of their region. In a broad sense, yeah, that's very broad, Arab culture is a way of thinking that what has spread far afield and now includes all who adopt the philosophies and the norms of the customs of that region. Arabs practice Islam. Egyptians don't. I'm just saying, that's just understanding from what I know. So that I'm leave it alone. Again, I hate doing that, but just stick to the lesson. Stop doing that. All right, I gotta tell myself that. Let me get to the next one. That's the Arab culture. Now let's talk about Eastern culture. For this purpose of this study, my man makes it clear. I get it now. The Eastern culture, that constitutes the traditions, the belief, the productions of the people, the religion, who have developed societies where in eastern part of the continent of Asia. Asia being the biggest landmass, so they got a bunch of different concepts. Africa being second. But in Asia, that's the eastern part. Okay. You got India, you got China, and who see this part of the world as their homeland. Or they view the world from a perspective of their traditions, including said religions and the norms of that region, and the Indo-centric, in a broad sense, you got Eastern culture is a way of thinking that includes all who adopt what? The philosophies, the norms, and the customs of that region. So wherever you are, that's what you are. What they're doing, that's what you're doing, so to speak. That's what they're saying. As a culture, I get it. I understand that. But again, let's talk about, now we went from the West culture, then we went to the Arabs, we went to the East, now we're going to African culture. And for the purpose of studying this study, we call African culture or Southern culture constitutes, I ain't dealing with that, beliefs and productions of those people who what? Who have developed the societies in that continent and of Africa. You got the sub-Saharan countries, okay, and who see this part of the world as what? Their homeland, or view the world from the perspective of the native tradition, including their religions and norms in that region, which is Afrocentric. There you go. And in a broader sense, The African culture is a way of thinking that includes all who adopt the philosophies, the norms, and the customs of said region. So what they're saying is the culture, whatever you at, the culture pretty much dictate that. I understand that wholeheartedly. And they got different views and concepts. Again, understand it wholeheartedly. But now I'm going to give you quick two definitions. I'm going to throw these in. The following definitions are what they call two simple keys to understanding the categories of what they call cultural expressions. How they live, they doing their thing. And you got the factors of cultural expression systems of cultural anthropology. What the hell? First, let's talk about the definition of the categories of cultural expression. In a broad area whereby a culture expresses itself, we just talked about it, in that part of the world. For example, religion is a broad category of culture expression. Everybody practices a religion. Not the same, but religion. So broad culture. So all religions may have a religion. Again, however, always a however, those religions are not necessarily the same. We know that. What are the differences? I ain't got that much time. And how can these differences be classified or compared? You got the Bible, you got New Testament, Old Testament, you got the Ethiopian Bible, you got a whole bunch of concepts during this time. Ancient times, we had book of coming forth by day. That was our basic instruction before leaving Earth concept. So we understand, again, culture. So I'm not beat for what? No, I'm trying to get an understanding so that even my followers get an understanding so we ain't all beat for what everybody else is doing compared to what we're doing. Okay? Moving on. The next one is the definition, factors of culture expression. That means there's methods or means by which a culture expresses its categories. Example, myths. When you head into that next level, that's part of the book. I'm following the book. Myth is a factor of what are religions. Say it again. Myth is a factor of all religions by which what? A religion is expressed in a unique way by a particular culture. It don't say nothing about literal. In the determining the common elements of different religions, if we understood that Bible as it meant to be, it's a perfect book. No question, no problem. But when you misunderstand and misinterpret and mispresent it, therein lies the problems for all y'all religious followers. Now you got confusions. Now you got chaos. Okay, no order. So watch this. So there are several factors which can be used as criteria to determine what? Whether or not the culture had common origins. The Egyptians say the Christian story, we practiced that 4,000 years before they got it. They said, no, we ain't. That's what they say. But if cultures are related, they will use, again, common stories. Everybody got a flood story. Everybody got a beginning story. So, again, I'm not beat for that. If what your story pleases you, that's what you like, go for it. And if it works for you, that's even better. That's the intent. So whatever you pick and choose, I keep telling them, the Jews picked the God, Yahweh, and they've been riding him ever since. And they've been in the money. Why? They either win, place, or show in their concepts and their tradition. And ain't a big religion. And everybody hate them because what? They stick to a tradition. And their rituals are there. They don't let everybody into what they're doing. Okay? To be one, you got no one. Get in. But watch this. And they all have common stories. They ain't never said they didn't. But other common factors or patterns to express the main doctrine of the religion or the spiritual path, your social philosophy, etc. These are listed below. I got a page over here for that. I'm not going that. That's considered what I call the fluff. That's a lot of stuff. All right. But the following section, I go through, I ain't doing that. But every culture has a way of expressing their folklore, their tradition, and it should be respected. That's all I say. And I do that. Why? I have a philosophy that's uniquely different than most All I want you to do is respect it. That's it. I respect yours, you respect mine. Simple. We both got guns. Mine shoot just like yours. Okay, understand it. It's called Mexican standoff. Hey, gringo, we got one too. All right, but now let's wrap this up. Now let's talk about the rituals. These are more definitions. The rituals and tradition and the purpose of the myth. That's coming up. Yeah, I got enough time. All right, here you go. Ritual and tradition. The ritual is the story. Excuse me, the myth is the story. The ritual is the practice of the story. Okay? Ritual, what it means. The prescribed order of a religious ceremony. B, the body of ceremonies or rites used in what? A place of worship, aka a church, a temple, synagogue, whatever you want to call it, their meeting place where y'all worship y'all God of your choice. You understand it? Not a problem. That's, everybody's right. Tradition. Understand this. If you don't follow it, it ain't tradition. If what your great-great-great-grandfather did, you're doing, that's tradition. If you're not doing what your great-great-great, that's not tradition. Moving on. That's tradition means following generation after generation. What's this? Tradition. The passing down of what? Elements of your culture from what? Generation to generation. Especially what? By oral communication. We all have stories about our grandparents, my great-grandparents, but see, I happen to live with them, so I don't have to go with the story. I know them, so I have my own stories about them, my own understanding about them. Stories is cool to hear about, but I have my own. When you can do that, you ain't got to rely on somebody else's information. So tradition is understanding. Keep it going. A mode of thought or behavior followed by a group of people continuously from generation to generation. A custom or the usage of the whatever philosophy they practice. The Jews have been practicing Judaism since they started. They don't deviate. They don't change. They don't care. Why? It works for them. Why would you stop or change something that's working? Because somebody else don't like it. If you are here to appease other people, you're here for the wrong reason. Okay? They understand that, and that's what they work toward. I got no problem with the Jews. I love why. They stick to what they know. I ain't got a problem with that at all. And they don't have no shame, and they proud of who they are. Why would you have a problem with some people like that? The Chinese, proud people. If the black man proud, oh, you all every proud. But every other group of people would be proud of who they are, but the black man. See, that's the problem they set mentally for us. I'm trying to change their mindset. Moving on. That's why I do what I do, to try to enlighten you to everything you need to what? Survive here in this white America. Moving on. All right. But it's all about learning. If you want to be better, I'm your man. All right. Now, B is also a set of such customs and the uses viewed as what? As a coherent body of precedents influencing the present. Their ancestral traditions still works for them to this day. Why would you change? Okay? And what's this? A body of what they call unwritten religious precepts. I'm sure in the family setting, they get internal stories about their ancestors. We practice ancestor worship. White man say that's evil. It's voodoo. No, it ain't. It's ours. He just don't understand it. He called Egyptian mystery. Why? We didn't tell him to him, so to him it's a mystery. We know just what it is. That's why. Understand it. Let me wrap this up. Yeah, I'm almost done. And 4, you have a time-honored practice. Right there. Time-honored practice or a set of such practices that still goes on to this day. And the Jews practice just that. They don't care. And y'all talk so bad about them, everybody rag on them. I interact with them. I ain't got a problem with them. Why? I'm their community. They can't drive worth a damn, but other than that, I ain't got a problem with them. They do what they do. Moving on. I ain't got time. I respect other people's right to do what traditionally they're right to practice. That's why. I ain't prejudiced. I ain't beat for, or he ain't a Christian, or he ain't this. Okay, I ain't either. Is that a problem with me? Moving on. But rituals, again, rituals objects and traditions, implying what? Observance, festivals, holidays, etc., commemorations, and it's all related to what? The myth. The myth, the man, are used what? As a tangible symbols to tell the myth. Traditions in this context may be understood as what they call a legacy of rituals, and is performed at an earlier point in history and handed down to what? The descendants of the mythological, religious, spiritual heritage to which a particular culture adheres. We practice that. Well, I practiced that from my ancient ancestors. That philosophy right there. What's this? And such that they are instruments to what? To facilitate the remembrance. Again, by practice and identification with what? The key elements of the myth to tell you the story, to get you to understand this function of rituals and identification is what they call advanced. That means you, the practitioner of the ritual and traditions of the myth, you partake in the myth. How? And what? Thus become one with the passion of the divinity, of the deity of the myth. And in so doing, what? You attain through daily meditation a communion with that what? Divinity. Again. This advanced, this ain't normal, okay, this ain't commercial. This is what we call advanced practice of rituals and traditions, and it constitute what we call the third level in masonry, master masonry degree. The third level in religion is practice right, the mystical experience where you and God become one through what? Your ritual understanding, your practice of it, and you doing the things that you do to make it happen for yourself. If you do that, that's what tradition is all about. That's what makes it traditional. It will do what they say do. Why? They've been doing it since they started. Haven't changed. Okay? And the third level of religion. And that's what? The metaphysics. That means you're going to change. Okay? Or they call mystical. You've been enlightened level, which what? We will explain in the following sections. And what that means is I'm going to tell you about the myth, its origins, the psychology, and the spirituality, and the metaphoric language that the plot and the myth gives you to understand, to learn better about yourself. Hope you enjoyed the lesson. That's the move, and that's the definition of the coaches. Now I'm going to break down the myths. I'll be right back for you in a minute with that. In closing. Ooh, almost forgot. In closing, right thinking, my bad. May you all live to be 100. Me, 100 miles a day. So I never know that my right thinkers who understand the coaches hopefully a little bit better have passed away. I'll be right back.